everybody. Welcome to this special edition of YouTube Livestreams with Keiko. Today with my mom.
Yes! With my daughter.
Hello.
Keiko.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, everyone. Okay, so I'm, very excited to bring you this live stream. And when you're in Japan, there's so many things you could paint. I mean, this country is so interesting. There are beautiful parks, gardens to explore, temples, shrines. There's also a lot of shopping you can do, hiking. I mean, it's endless. So I had all the options between, drawing something cutesy or drawing food or going out into nature.
Yummy.
So I thought I'd ask you guys what you would like to paint today, and a lot of you actually said Japanese gardens or landscapes, so that's what we're gonna do. And my mom and I recently went to a small Japanese garden here in Kobe. Hi Linda. And it was interesting because even though she grew up here, she didn't know about that place. Sorakuen.
Yes. Wonderful. I didn't know.
And interestingly enough, so you probably have all seen pictures of gardens in Kyoto that are highly manicured, where the bushes are perfectly round. So this garden here was a bit different. Even though it was landscaped, it looked a bit more free and wild. So I really love that. And our subject today is I did two versions. So this is the one you saw in the preview. And this is another one I did, which was a bit more wet on wet and wild. So we're gonna do something in between, in between these two.
It's wonderful Japanese garden.
It was really wonderful.
Yes, it was so beautiful.
All right, so let's turn the camera around and I'm going to introduce to you the supplies, and also, if you have any questions about Japan, and as far as I can answer them, please feel free to ask. Okay, let's turn the camera around. You'll see a little bit of our kitchen here. And as you can see, I have you guys in the chat too on my computer, and this is, hold on, I'm just trying to not push any buttons so that I don't quit the live stream inadvertently. Okay, let's see. So naturally, because I'm not home, the setup is really different. The lighting also might not be as, of course, not as good as when I'm home in my home studio. So please let me know, as always, zooming in, zooming out. I hope the sound is okay. Okay, and that you can see fine. Okay, let's start like this.
Very good.
Yeah, the angle is not perfect. Let me see. Let me just try. Okay. Yeah. I think unfortunately this is the best I can do. I can zoom in though, so okay. Let me just take a quick look at the chat. It's so funny to talk English again. We've been talking Japanese and German all the time. So, alrighty. Hello. Hi, Susan. Hi, Mishi. All right, something's beeping. You hear that? Something's beep.
Yeah, beep.
Well, everything beeps around here all the time.
Wrong me.
Okay, let me give you a quick overview over where we are in Japan, because I know that some of you have been to Japan, and Tracy is actually, Arctic Tern, is actually getting ready to go to Japan today. Okay, so
here is a map of Japan. This is Japan. So Japan consists out of 4 main islands, which, you know, when you think about Hawaii, it's interesting. There is a correlation. Hawaii also consists out of 4 main islands and then has a lot of smaller islands as well. Actually, I think some people would probably say it's like 6 or 7 main islands. Yeah, so in Japan, definitely it's 4 main islands. Here up in the north, we have Hokkaido. And then this big part here is the biggest island, Honshu. Of course, you guys all know Tokyo, the main capital. And then there's also the place where we're staying currently, which is Kobe, very close to Osaka. That's also very well known. And I think you probably all have heard of Kyoto, which used to be the capital of Japan for a while, a long time ago. And then, of course, also Hiroshima is also part of the main island. And then over here in the south, this is called Shikoku. This is where my mom and her family hail from
Yes.
originally.
I was born in Shikoku.
Here in this part, in Ehime region.
Here. I was born here.
Oh, all the way down south, just right by the ocean. This area is very famous for citrus fruits.
For 77 years, long time.
Long time ago.
Long time ago.
Right by the ocean.
Since I was born.
Yes. And then her whole family moved to Osaka because, you know, as is the case with a lot of places, when you are born and raised in a rural area, in order to find work, you have to move to the big city. And back then, this region here in Osaka, that was the place to go, other than Tokyo, of course.
Yes.
And then the island number 4 here is Kyushu. That's probably, I'd say, the southernmost island, right? Of the 4 islands.
Yes, it's very warm.
Very warm. And then you guys have probably all heard of Okinawa.
Okinawa.
Look, it's so far south. It's like tropical, huh? Down there, like Hawaii.
And very many old people are here, Okinawa.
It's funny because I heard this saying that when you're 80 years old and you go to Okinawa, they kind of call you like a young person, like, oh, you got ways to go.
Über 100 Jahre alt.
Yeah, so there are a lot of
100
people
years
that are
Yes.
older than 100 years.
It's very famous.
They have a secret down there, the Okinawa secret.
Yes.
All right, so as I mentioned before, we are currently in an area called the Kansai region. So Kansai is Kyoto, Osaka, Kobe.
はい、そうです。
How far is it? Is
So
Hiroshima also Kansai?
Ni.
別の?
Under another
Oh,
class.
okay. So it's mostly Kobe, Osaka,
Another
Kyoto is Kansai,
So-
ne?
yes, yes.
Und auch hier.
はい。
Down
はい、
here.
そうです。そうです。
Okay, so, you know, because my family is here and all our friends are here, I tend to not travel much in Japan. We went to Shikoku last year, but for example, I've only been to Tokyo twice, and the last time was 25 years ago. So if you have any questions, I can answer a lot of them, pertaining to this region down here, but everything up north, you probably are better off asking Tracy because that's where she goes to, for example. So, all right, just to give you a little overview over Japan and where we are at right now, just check the chat real quick. Glenda says you're very cute. Kawaii. Taka-chan kawaii.
Keiko-chan was sweet. My daughter is so sweet.
Oh, Sharon just was in Japan. You were in Tokyo too, right, Sharon?
Who?
Sharon is the mom of Amy.
Sharon.
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 Amy, my friend, they came and visited us in the treehouse.
Hi, Sharon. こんにちは。おはようございます。おはよう。Good
日本
morning,
語できない。
Sharon. Ohayo, Sharon.
Eigo.
Manganese.
Eigo
Manganese. Good morning.
Okay. So, all right. And let me also show you a few pictures of the park that we went to. Okay, so the park's center feature was a large pond. And very typical for Japan are these matsu.
So beautiful.
In German, it's kifa. I kind of
Matsu.
blanking on the word in English right
Kifa
now.
tree.
A needle tree. Evergreen, kind of like a cedar. Is it cedar? Matsu?
Matsu.
Kifa.
Matsu kifa.
Kifa, ne?
German.
So
Germany.
you will find this kind of structure, this kind of pattern in a lot of Japanese prints, paintings, etc., calligraphy even. And also very famous are, of course, the Japanese koi, the goldfish, but you know, they're huge.
Big goldfish.
See the little turtle? There was a little turtle there.
Yeah, sure, beautiful fish.
And this is our reference photo for today. So it features a stone lantern. And in this park, what I really liked is that in a lot of places you could step over the water on these stepping stones. Another picture of the pond. And, you know, especially in here, you can see that this is kind of like a natural and wild park. So in other parks in Japan, everything would be manicured. You know, you wouldn't have this type of grass even. I think we had this one already.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Also, very prominent in a lot of parks and gardens are bridges, you know, bridges of all sorts and kinds. And of course, I have to tell you guys, it's very warm for this time of year. And, you know, this kind of sunshiny autumn vibe you would usually find more in October, I'd say. But right now it's still 70 Fahrenheit or like 22 degrees Celsius around here, which is really warm. So we were able to see this
warm,
park in beautiful sunshine and with, you know, colors that are, I'd say, more common for October. Okay, let me go back to, and we're gonna do something like this today. Okay. All right, let's talk supplies and technique.
Technique.
Hi, Carrie. Sharon says, Konnichiwa, Taki-san. Nice to meet you. Yes,
Hi, thank you.
Spent 2.5 weeks in Tokyo. I would really, you know, you guys, I would love to go to Tokyo again. I love Tokyo. The, you know, 2 times I've been there. I also would love to go to the Ghibli Museum, you know, where they have a Totoro-chan.
Totoro.
Did you know there is a big museum outside of Tokyo?
Tokyo?
Ghibli. Yes, ikitai.
行きたいね。
そうそうそう。
I want to
Yeah.
go to
Oh,
visit
okay.
the Totoro Museum.
Look at this.
Totoro-chan.
Yeah, there's a store here, you guys. There's a Ghibli store, Donguri Garden store. So in Japan, you know, you have a lot of public bathrooms. It's great everywhere. However, they usually don't provide towels. So after you wash your hands, all Japanese people usually carry some kind of towel in their purse. This one, of course, it's not very, you know, common because this is for kids, but I just couldn't resist. Now I have a Totoro towel. Yeah. I'm obsessed with Totoro. Okay. Oh yeah, real quick. Real quick. I did different versions of this park. So this is just my Royal Talens Art Creations sketchbook. This was made with brush pens
Ooh,
and
sketchbook. Yoo-hoo.
colored pencils on top. This is what we're gonna do today. This is on Baohong paper. This one here. I am using hot press, or I brought hot press because I'm also working on another project which I have to scan, and hot press paper is really great for scanning because it has less texture. So whenever you scan it, you know, and you scan cold press paper, which has a lot of texture, you're gonna see the shadows show up in the scan. So if you want flat, then better use hot press paper. This one was from a painting that I actually ended up not liking, so I just cut out the one piece that I did like. And this is my little Fabriano sketchbook made by Stefania in New York.
Wonderful.
And I started it last year on my last trip to Japan. And I realized I still had a few pages.
It was so happy journey
Yeah, that was
with
great
you.
down in Shikoku.
Thank you so much.
So it was just a few minutes every day doing a quick watercolor sketch. You know, some are more elaborate. And then for this year,
Yeah, this year, yes.
I had a few, as I said, I have only like one more double spread. So I'm trying to save this one for probably some type of landscape. So later today we're gonna visit a shrine. So maybe I'm gonna do that later.
So 3 Zeit Verzögerung mit diesem
Yeah.
Bildschirm
Aha.
und
Yes.
das macht nichts.
Okay. Watercolors. I brought my Aloha watercolors, and let me just quickly talk about the colors. So I have vanilla, which is a titanium buff, or white titanium buff. This is Waimea, which is a raw sienna. Cocoa is a burnt umber. I have Kohola, it's a synthetic indigo. And then Lagoon is a manganese blue hue, so it's not the real thing, which would be toxic. This is a substitute pigment.
Beautiful.
Mango is a medium cadmium yellow.
Yes,
I
sunshine
have
color.
opera pink. This is sanctuary, which is cobalt green and earth, green earth.
Green, green.
Avocado is also green earth mixed with yellow.
Avocado, yummy.
And I think in the list I said jade vine, which is a phtalo turquoise, but I'm actually using vermillion today. If you don't have this, you can use jade vine or jungle. So any kind of phtalo that you have at hand. As I mentioned before, I have Baohong paper. This is about I'd say a bit larger than a postcard. I can actually tell you because it's half of the size of the pad. So it's 3.5 by 5 inches, or 9 by 13 centimeters. I'm gonna
Postcard size.
yeah, it's a bit
Like a postcard
it's a bit bigger. It's a
size. A
large
little bit bigger, ne?
postcard, yeah. Okay, as for brushes, I brought my large quill brush. This is by Jackson's. And then I have 2 really old travel brushes. I don't even know what they are or where I got them. I think I've had them for 10 years. It's a size 6 round brush, and this is, I think, a size 0. Okay, I have some tape I bought here at Muji. Just super nice. It does not stick too much to the paper. I'm gonna tape my paper down because we're gonna go wet on wet. But last but not least, I also have some colored pencils here. I'm only gonna use a few colors, mostly in the greens and browns, but we'll get to this later. Okay, so let's start with taping down our paper. If you've seen my newsletter, you should have received the template, but I'll show you how to do the drawing, of course. Okay, if your washi tape is too sticky, you can, just put it on a piece of clothing or, your pants or something. Of course, now I have a hair stuck to it. All right, we're taping it down just so that it doesn't buckle too much because we're going to use quite a bit of water. So the idea behind this technique today is basically to not be intimidated by the intricate details of this scene and to rather just break it down into shapes. So just with everything else that I draw or paint, I try to look at the picture and try to see the main features, which of course, the center focus is going to be the lantern. I'm actually going to make it a bit bigger. And then the steps here. And then the bushes are basically just circles going down this way. And then you have a few important lines, which would be these trees and these branches here. And this is it. And then we're gonna wet the paper, drop in some colors, and we're gonna do the defining details in a later step. And honestly, I think as soon as you have some color on your paper, it's gonna be so much easier to just go ahead and add some details. Just looking at the white paper or the white page can lead to you not really knowing where to start. So let's start. I'm gonna do a basic line drawing. Let me see, should I go a bit closer? Let's see, let me start first. Okay, so let's do rule of thirds. Basically, we're breaking down the paper. Here, 3 lines. 1, 2, 3. Like this. Very wonky. It's still early here in Japan. So you want to put all the important things where these lines cross. So naturally, I want to put my lantern over here because that's going to be an important feature in my drawing. So I'm just very, very roughly drawing this in here.
Roughly は何ですか? Roughly.
Ganz grob.
Ah, grob.
Grob mal einzeichnen,
Roughly, grob.
damit ich weiß, wo es ungefähr hinkommt.
Hey, hey.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, we got the first thing down. And then here, where 2 of the other lines meet, is where I want to start the steps, the stone steps. So 1, 2, kaidan, hai. So as you can see, I'm really going about it very loosely, just to get an idea. I don't think you can see much, huh? Let me get a bit closer, maybe. Hope this is better. And then over here on line 3, we're going to put one of the tree trunks, the vertical line, and then add a few more here. So these 2 lines here also work to get the viewer to go down, follow these lines and go towards the lantern. So you're guiding them towards the lantern just by adding these 2 lines over here, and then also by adding branches coming from the right, heading over to the left. So the focal point will be the lantern. Okay, and then we have a few more bushes down here, so just drawing in a few more circles. big one over here. And then one over here. Don't, you know, you can just go about this very loosely. You can place your bushes in a different order. Just make sure that you have the lantern here, focus number 1, and the steps down here, focus number 2. Okay, and that's pretty much it for the drawing. We could refine the lantern a little more maybe. Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Oh, and one more thing I forgot. There is a little fence here, which I thought was a very pretty feature as well. Okay, and another nice, you know, line, a diagonal line shape. It just adds to some interest, or it adds to the interest of the painting if you have different types of lines. If everything is just a vertical line or just, you know, horizontal, it tends to be a bit boring. Okay, I'm going in and shaping my lantern. So it starts with this teardrop shape at the top. Then here we have the triangle. Just doing some cinnamon rolls here as decoration for the top part of the lantern. And then this shape here consists out of a front part with a little window. Usually there's a candle in there or some type of light. Actually, in the photo you can see that, you know, modern times, there's a cable sticking out, so they have electric lights in there. Really pretty. You go there in the evening when it's already dark or getting close to dark.
Really pretty.
Yeah, and then, you know, those lights come on and it's really beautiful.
本当に可愛い。Really pretty. Good sounds.
Okay, this little ledge here.
It's very enjoyable to watch.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So lots of pencil strokes at this point, so I'm going to go over this with my kneadable eraser just to lighten the pencil strokes a little bit. Okay, we have another part here. Follow the round shape by making the line a bit curved. And then the foot. And the foot kind of disappears into the bushes, so we don't have to finish this one. Okay, I have my kneadable eraser and I'm just gonna roll it over my drawing. See how it lightens the pencil without taking the lines out completely? This is exactly how we want it.
Oh, sure.
Don't lighten it up too much. We're gonna go over everything with water in a first layer of paint. So the pencil lines will disappear pretty much by themselves as well. So you just want to make sure you erase all the lines that you really don't need. For example, those vertical and horizontal lines that we drew in the beginning. You can get rid of all of these.
Ist das wie Radiergummi?
Ja, der ist lustig, gell? 面白いね、これ。
面白い。It's very fun, very
wie Knete.
interesting. いや、ほんと。粘土みたい。
粘土?
粘土。
I'm learning new words.
粘土。
Knetmasse.
はい、はい。
粘土。
粘土。
粘土。知らなかった。
粘 heißt klebrig und do heißt
Nen.
Sand. Also Erde.
Sand?
Erde. Also die, ja, Erde, diese Dings ist klebrig. Klebrig, also.
Sticky soil or sticky earth.
So wie Mochi. Mochi. Pentecost? That is a ring.
はいはい。
Wie Kaugummi, ne?
Ja,
Like a chewing
Kaugummi.
gum, ne?
Der Kaugummi-Radierer.
Chewing gum, masse.
Oh, bye, Michi. Michelle had to go. Work emergency. Oh no.
Michelle.
Okay. All right. I have my large mop brush here. Bit of water, and we're gonna cover the whole page. So, you know, there are different ways you could go about this whole painting, of course. You could also just do wet on dry. You could start with painting in all the details very minutely, but I honestly love this approach where you work wet on wet. You have less control, naturally, but just in order to sit down and paint and not be afraid of the outcome, just really just putting down some color, some paint. I think this is a great exercise. I think it's also a good exercise in letting go because, you know, the second painting I did, the indigo, really got out of hand. But, you know, I sat with it for a few minutes and then I actually really liked it. We're gonna cover the whole page with the white titanium buff, vanilla. So this is a nice priming color. The whole scene consists out of a lot of this very light beige tone, especially in the lantern and the steps. But because the rest is pretty much green, this mixes really well too. So you don't want to use a prime color that doesn't mix well with the colors that follow. But choosing this light beige tone is almost like choosing a paper that is beige or yellowish. Okay, a little more.
Nice color.
And you can already start dropping in some more of this color into the lantern. And also down where the steps are. Make sure you kind of drop in the paint. So we're gonna do a lot of dropping in paint today.
Background color, very natural color.
Yeah, it's a very light and natural color that is being featured. Whenever you look at a reference photo, try to find this type of basic background color. If you want to do this technique wet on wet, very loose and freestyle, look at your reference photo and try to figure out what kind of basic background color you can use, and then cover the whole page. Just go ahead and, you know, be wild. Okay, up next, the paper is still wet. It shouldn't be sopping wet. It has kind of like a sheen to it. If you don't use cotton paper, you might run into trouble at this point. So I would advise you to not wet the paper too much, because, you know, the non-cotton paper, the wood pulp paper, will make the water like sit on the surface. So you're gonna have a lot of pooling of the and mixing of the colors where you don't want them to mix. Whereas with the cotton paper, you know, the water seeps into the fibers and holds it there, so you can add color without risking all your colors melting into each other too much at this point.
Do you need the hair dryer?
I will need the hairdryer later. Yes, very good, Mom. Later, yeah.
Okay.
We'll dry the first, you know, layers.
Yes.
But we're gonna put down all the colors first. All the colors that make up the basic layer and the background layer. So up next I have avocado. You can mix this color by mixing green and yellow.
Avocado, yummy, yummy.
Yum, yum. Oh yeah, oh my gosh, we're eating all the time, you guys. It's insane. The food here is so good and it's so inexpensive. We're just, yeah, stuffing ourselves. Okay, let's put in some avocado green I'm painting around the tree trunks at this point, but I am painting over the branches and also over the bushes. I'm leaving out the top part of the stone steps as well.
Mhm.
And I'm also painting around the lantern.
Mhm.
But don't worry if the colors mix a little bit. Not to worry. So just drop in your avocado green color by like drip, drip, drop, drop, dropping in the paint. Try to not paint with big strokes here. We just want to be adding the paint like this. Okay, we're going to go all over, covering these bushes here at the bottom as well. Make sure you also cover the base of the lantern like this, because as I mentioned before, the base of the lantern or the foot of the lantern will melt into the bushes and disappear. Okay, let's wash our brush, and I'll pick up some of the manganese blue hue. Don't worry if you don't have this color. I'd say, for down there, it doesn't really matter too much which light blue you use. You could use another kind of light blue for the water part here. You could use jade vine down here too. A phtalo turquoise. I can tell that the paper has already dried a bit more down here, which is fine with me. But in case your paper is too dry, you can just re-wet it again and then drop in the paint.
I love this blue color. Kirei.
Kirei desho?
Mm,
Okay, I painted around those stepping stones. But I'm freely letting the green and blue colors melt into each other. And while everything is still wet down there, I'm picking up my synthetic indigo, and now we're going to be really careful. Indigo is a very strong color with a high tinting strength. So you want to dilute it a little bit and just test it.
Very strong color, ne?
It's very strong. And as I mentioned before, this is what kind of got out of hand with my second painting. This one here, where I was like, oops. But again, I did end up liking it. It's a bit, I think it gives the whole thing a bit more of a dreamy atmosphere. And yeah, again, see, it's really spreading a lot. If it's too much, if you have the same problem and you want to remedy that, just take a dry brush and just push back the pigment a little bit. And in between strokes, you just dry off your brush again.
Very good. With a dry pen.
With the dry brush, yeah. Just pick up
brush.
some of the color, push it back into the water area down here.
Very fine. Very fine.
Also, if you have some paint pooling towards the edges or maybe even towards the center of your paper.
Very nice.
But apart from that, I really like the patterns that this technique creates. So we're gonna leave this alone down here to let it dry a little bit. And we're gonna go back to the top part and add some darker greens to the area where the bushes are, and then some pink and yellow here in the top part. Okay, let's pick up some dark green. This is Sanctuary. You can also really use any kind of earthy green that you have. Green earth or chromium green, chromium oxide green, cobalt green. And while the paper is still wet, but dried a little more, so you have a bit more control for this part here, with quick strokes, drop in the darker green paint where the bushes are. And again, make sure you don't apply the paint with large strokes. You want to kind of just dot, dot, dot your brush here. And again, same as with down below, if your paint spreads too much, it just shoots out, take a dry brush or dry off the brush you're using, pick up the paint. Okay, I'm rinsing my brush and I'm picking up a little bit of my indigo. I think I still have it on my little palette here. And I'll drop it in just randomly in between the greens for the bushes. So this will just kind of indicate shadowy areas within the bushes.
Very good tempo you have. Look at that.
Yeah, I know it's probably, you know, too. It's always this thing with live streams that for some people I'm too slow, I'm explaining too much, and then for some it's too fast. But, you know, if it's too slow, you can also just quit watching right now and then later watch the recording in 1.5 speed. Okay, let's mop up some of the residual water here. Okay.
Good tempo.
Now let's add some pink at the top. If you don't have opera pink, you can use quinacridone, magenta, or, you know, any kind of strong pink or red color. It doesn't have to be pink either. It's just that I love pink. I love using pink a lot. I love using pink even though there is no pink in the painting or the reference photo.
I love pink too.
Okay, let's water this down. Just with the indigo, the opera pink is a very strong and very tinting color. With this color, it's important that you don't add too much. We just kind of want to give this painting a bit more interest. So very sparingly.
Very pretty.
And also, this color serves to create more contrast between the lantern and the background. So I'm switching to my dry brush just to move the pink color around a little bit. I'm also gonna add a little more water in this area here because it was a bit too dry already to my liking. And while the paint is still wet, I'm going into my yellow mango color, medium cadmium yellow. Again, just use any type of yellow you have. And dropping it into the pink. So in the areas where it mixes, it will create, you know, orange hues.
Autumn music.
Yeah.
Helps music.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty.
Oh, thank you, Steph. That's great to hear.
Welcome.
Okay, so, you know, my friend Julia from the Paint Box Letters, she always said there are so many ugly phases, when you paint with watercolors, and I love that. She was like, I usually have 3 to 4 ugly phases in 8 phases of my watercolor painting.
Ugly Zustimmung.
Ugly is hässlich.
Was?
So
Zustimmen war
agree.
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 Ach so.
This
Okay.
is an ugly phase. It just means that with watercolors, you know, you will always run into the situation where you look at the painting and you think, oh my gosh, I can just trash this now. It looks terrible. So don't worry. It's gonna look much better once we add a few more details and shadows, and then in the end we'll go in with some colored pencils.
Here is not wet.
Mm-hmm.
Here is a little bit wet.
Yeah, it is.
Do you need hair dryer?
Yeah, I will use the hairdryer shortly.
Mm-hmm.
But first I want to add some more paint to my steps here.
Mm-hmm.
And then also down here. So we're gonna start working with, I wouldn't call them details yet, but we're gonna work our way through defining a few more of the shapes that we started here. So
Already this color harmony is very pretty.
Thank you.
Already.
My mom sees pretty in the ugly. It's very
Yeah.
nice.
Me, this is very pretty. Shown already. Shown.
It's great to have a cheerleader like my mom is. I mean, whatever, you know, whatever I do, it's all great. It's fantastic.
My English is so
Your
bad.
English is fine, Mom.
No.
It's great. We've
But-
been talking Japanese for a week now, mixed with German. So, you know, my English is not great right now, and it's just because I'm not speaking it, and you're not speaking it either. So, you're fine. 大丈夫よ。結構です。大丈夫よ。Oh. Okay, so I have Waimea here, raw sienna, and with my round 6 brush, I'm just gonna add a few strokes. You can see the paper is already dry here. If your paper isn't dry yet, just give it a bit more time. I'm adding a bit for the little piece of fence. And this part is not dry yet, so I'm not gonna go into there yet. And then here for the stone steps, just add a few tiny little lines. And then we'll define the steps here by adding 1, 2 strokes. Small line in the center, and then we'll just go down the stone steps like this. 1 stroke, another one. And again, if your paper is still wet, just let it dry a little more so you can add some crisp lines here for those stone steps. You might have a bit more space down here. I don't really, because my indigo went wild again. But it is pretty dry. So I'm able to add the shadow of this last pair of steps down here.
Good.
And then we'll pick up some more of this raw sienna and then do the same thing for the stone steps that are in the water. And as you can see, again, I'm not painting with one broad stroke. I'm kind of zigzagging my way through there just to imitate the naturally rocky character of these stones.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Okay, I'm gonna add a few more rocks over here just to fill this empty space.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the final texture, we're gonna do that with the color pencil. If you're using cold press paper today, you just really have to find the balance. between doing things like details with watercolor or with colored pencil. I have to say with cold press paper, colored pencil can just show up too much. With hot press, it's usually easier to add texture with colored pencil and make it blend in more because, you know, that paper just does not have a lot of tooth. So the colored pencil just shows up really prettily as texture for tree bark, rocks, stones, things like that. So just test your paper, and if you don't like how the color pencil show up on your paper, you can do the details with watercolor as well. Okay, so the paper is drying really well down here, but it's still pretty wet in this area. Let's see. Yeah, I might really have to whip out the hairdryer, huh? Okay, yeah. All right, you guys. Be right back. I'm gonna get the hairdryer. All right, here we go. That should be enough. As always, whenever I test how wet the paper is, I use the back side of my hand because it has less oil. You know, our fingers have a lot of oil, so you touch your paper like this, you're gonna have almost like a wax resistant technique on your paper. Yeah, it's better to just use the knuckles of your hand.
Great.
Aw, thank you, Nina. She says it's not ugly at all. Aw, that's so sweet. Okay. Okay, so this was basically what you could call step 1 or layer 1. Or maybe 2, I'd say. First, the white titanium buff, you know, just cover the whole page and then drop in colors to define the basic shapes and regions of your painting. And now we can just look a bit more closely at the details. So in every painting, you want to have areas of contrast. So in order for our lantern to stand out more, you know, it needs to be darker. The background needs to be lighter. Same with the steps, you know, you need highlights so that the steps, the stone steps, stand out in the picture. So you want to have some areas that are dark to create some nice contrast. This is true for every painting. You want to have light and dark areas, you know, and then adding shadows is also a very important part in every drawing or painting. So we're gonna look at this next. Okay, let's see. I am done with my large mop brush. I'm gonna work with my round 6 brush from now on, and let's add some color for our branches and tree trunks next. I still have my Waimea raw sienna going in, and with 2 quick lines over here and then down here. You can just kind of let the branches disappear or the trunks into the bushes here. And now with a bit of a higher concentration of paint, so less water, more pigment, holding the brush upright. Let me just actually remove the top part. Gonna draw in the branches. And as you can see, I'm doing zigzag lines. Almost dotting. So whenever you have to paint thin lines like this, and if they are organic shapes, you never have to paint one line in one go. Same for circles. Anything that is a tricky line.
Instead, Deutsch instead.
You can basically break up into smaller lines. So I think this technique is really works well for branches. Also make sure you don't repeat the same pattern. So, you do one branch and you do another branch here and then you repeat it on all three. I think we're very likely to repeat patterns like this, but it will look unnatural. So you want to make sure that the branches don't all start in the same position. And also try to change up the direction. As you can see, all my 3 branches are very parallel at this point. So I kind of want to go in and just do a little one that goes in a completely different direction and angle. Like this one here.
It's here a little bit darker.
Yes, yeah.
Dunkler,
Mm-hmm.
the estate.
Yeah, I'm using more pigment and less water so that the branches... Okay. So when you make them darker, they will naturally stand out more. So the pink and the yellow will recede into the background. And by making the branches darker, they will move into the foreground. And you can actually help this effect by adding another darker color. So this is cocoa, burnt umber, and just drop this into the still wet, lighter brown of the branches. You don't want to cover all the branches, you just want to drop in a little bit of a darker brown.
Yes, fine.
And while I'm at it, I can also add darker brown to the vertical lines, the vertical tree trunks. Make sure that when you start adding shadow, that you're consistent. So now that I added shadow on the right-hand side, I want to add shadow on the right-hand side of this tree trunk as well. Also over here.
Yeah. Yes.
We can also go into the steps and add a few dots and lines, some texture in this part here. Yeah. And again, you can also do all this with colored pencil later on, but I think it's a nice mix, material mix, if you do it both with watercolor and with colored pencil. The watercolor will naturally blend in better just because it is the same medium. And the colored pencil will stand out more. So depending on what you want to achieve, what kind of look you want to achieve, you can also change media or mediums. Dropping in some more paint, burnt umber down here for the stone steps in the water. Okay. Now it's tempting to do the lantern next, but because I painted the branches here and it's still wet, I don't want to go in there because I'm probably gonna drag my my hand through the paint. So I'm gonna do this water part down here next, where we have a little bit of a reflection of some tree branches and, you know, some grass and twigs and stuff like that in the water. So I'm going to use my vermillion. You can use phtalo green or phtalo turquoise instead. And now I want to make sure that I have a very watery version of the screen. It's better to start too light, so don't worry if you can hardly see that green. Well, maybe that's not enough. So let's add a little bit more pigment and just go back in there and drop it in. And again, very organic shapes. No straight lines here. Let me move in a little more so you can see this better. So this is a very, very subtle effect. I think my phone holder creates its own shadow. So just throughout the water, add some of these lines here.
Light.
And the same
Hela geworden.
over here.
Dit is hela geworden. Light. Lighter.
The light just got lighter, yeah.
Schön.
Thanks, Carrie. Okay, let's zoom out again.
いいね。
All right, so we have this part that is still wet. This one here, up here is still a little bit wet as well. So let's work in the middle part. I'm going back to my vanilla buff titanium white.
Middle part. Yes.
Using a little less water and more pigment now. And just very gently painting in some of the texture of these stone steps. I'm rinsing my little brush, my little tiny short brush, and let's go back to our green. So now we can add some more texture and definition for our bushes here. So this is Sanctuary green earth mixed with cobalt green. And using the tip of the brush, making sure I'm not touching any areas that are still wet. In this case, that will be the branches. Painting in a little bit of texture for the bushes, mixing it with some avocado green, doing the same over here. And at this point, you want to make sure you go over the circle shapes you've painted. It'll look a bit more natural, I think. You know, rather than having a perfectly round shape. Other than, you know, if you paint a garden in Kyoto, then you probably want to have a perfectly round shape because that's how they prune the bushes into.
Bush klingt wie Deutsch.
Yeah, I think it's the same word. Yeah.
Very similar sounds.
And if you have a lot of paint in the background already, make sure that the mixture you use on top has even less water and more pigment so it shows up better. You can use some negative space technique to bring out some grass, as I did over here, for example. You know, just painting around the lighter area. So we could do this down here. I'm using my darker green sanctuary. And kind of like painting in some triangles. It's almost like creating a fan shape. And then from those green fans, I'm taking the pigment and just dropping it into the indigo background. Can do the same over here, a little more grass. So instead of painting the grass itself, we're kind of defining the space in between. And then taking that green paint and continuing this green theme into the background like this. Make sure you cover the base of the lantern so it really looks as if it's disappearing into the greenery here. Okay, we already have a little more definition for some parts of the painting. And again, you know, whatever you want to paint with this kind of technique, starting very abstract and then just moving into different pieces of your painting. You can be as exact as you want, or you can just be as abstract as you want to. This is a very flexible technique that allows you to just, you know, go in and add more and more and more details, or, you know, just stop at some point and have it be a little more mysterious, so to speak.
Very flexible technique.
Mm-hmm. All right, I think this is dry enough for me to go into details for the lantern now.
Entry.
Finally!
Finally.
Mom's like, oh, finally, the lantern.
Main picture.
Took you long enough.
Oh, this is a color. This is the main picture. Also,
Yeah, this is really this should be the center
Yes.
focal point. Yeah,
Color.
definitely. But because it's not in the center of the painting, and because we have those lines here,
links.
you know, the viewer will walk around the
Yes.
painting and look at the steps and then return
Yeah.
to the lamp. You know, it's almost like a circle motion here. Another very important thing for me is really to always create paintings that leave enough interest all around so that the viewer is, you know, interested enough to find out,
Yes.
okay, what's going on in the rest of the painting. Another good tip is, for example, to just add something cute or funny. I mean, you could just paint a little, you know, a little bug here, or maybe a little bird or some fish in the pond, just something where they feel like they're discovering something. Okay.
I can understand.
Yeah, I know. Your English is great.
Oh, nicht. Aber, naja. La.
Okay, so for the lantern, very important to bring out the shadows. So let's...
Shadow. Shatten.
We will, however, start with another layer of this white buff titanium, which might strike you as being odd because we used it already for the background. But because we used so much water, it's just a very, very light shade of vanilla or buff titanium white that is already on the page. So we're gonna start defining the shadows by adding more of the same color. So in every part that is at the bottom of every shape. Okay, so we have the circle at the top, then we have the triangle here, adding some more shadow here. Then this kind of, I don't know what that is called. Is that a rhombus or cylindrical shape with corners? You guys all know that I was always bad in math, so I don't even remember the correct words for these shapes. Just make sure you add shadow at the bottom of all of these shapes. And then also like this to define the round nature of the cylinder down here. You're gonna take the shadow down like this. Oops, that brush got out of hand a little bit. Okay, here we go. And now we have all these areas wet. I'm gonna rinse my brush and I'm gonna move on to a slightly darker color. This is the raw sienna, Waimea. And I'm just gonna drop it into the shadows that I just painted. If you want to be bold, you can do this with indigo as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just has such high tinting strength that I'm always advising to be a bit careful, you know, adding a strong color like that.
Be careful.
But it does add really nice contrast. So I do love working with indigo. I never use black, or almost never. This is our little window. And then adding indigo really carefully to the shadows. And at this point, we can also define the other lines, the opposite lines of the lantern.
It's
not very straight. It's so funny because, you know, right now I'm not painting and I'm looking straight at my painting. I'm like painting and looking at it at an angle, so I can already see. I can tell that my lantern is pretty wonky, but that's okay. All right. Okay, I'm working my way up, drawing in the lines for the lantern. And again, you can see I'm not drawing the lines in one go. I'm carefully adding almost like indicators for those lines, or dotted lines. Okay, and this is the top part.
What's the title?
A little more shadow over here. Let me zoom in a little bit again. Okay, I'm dragging the shadow down on this side. I could almost move over to my tiny brush, I think, the size 0 or 1. Honestly, I hardly ever work with this size of brush. Almost feel like it can't even hold any paint. But sometimes it does come in handy. For example, if you want to draw in something like this, you know, really tiny details. But, you know, honestly, I think using these type of tiny brushes can also lead to you getting lost in details and just fretting too much about details. And when I say you, I mean me, all of us.
Detail has detail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same word.
Similar sounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the same word, just pronounced a bit differently in German and English. Okay, so this contrast seems a bit harsh almost. Let me zoom out a little bit and look at it. Actually, no, I do like it.
Almost finished. Almost.
If you feel that it's a bit too harsh, you can either drop in some more of the buff titanium over here, or you can rinse your brush and dry it and just kind of drag some of the paint off your shadow down and mix it into the light area like this. But honestly, I do like having kind of a bold contrast, so just so that the lantern really pops out.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Wonderful technique.
Thanks, Steph.
Hunter.
Okay, at this point, you have the option to go in and add even more details with watercolors, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to have more consistent type of medium in your painting. Or you could just let everything dry and then go in with colored pencils, which is usually my personal preference because I love working with mixed media. But you can really make this decision now for yourself. If you want to just stay with watercolors, just use a smaller brush and then you can start adding leaf shapes, you know, little dots, and add more shadows and definition and lines everywhere. But as I said, for myself, I usually really love going into my painting with a different medium. Okay, I think I need to go over this with the hairdryer one more time so that it's really dry and I don't rip the paper by using colored pencils. So let me put this to the side. I'm gonna...
Already so beautiful.
Oh,
I love it, this picture.
So fast. It's so nice. You know, being in Japan, the air humidity is so low here. So compared to my 90% humidity in Hawaii, nothing ever dries. And here it's so nice.
Air is so dry in
Japan. It dries so quickly.
So nice.
It's so wonderful.
Good
I mean,
for your painting.
For live streams where you want a painting to dry fast or quickly, it's really great.
Hawaii is wonderful, wonderful paradise, but air is too wet.
That's very wet, isn't it?
Too hot and too wet.
Yeah.
Means for painting is very difficult.
Well, unless you do wet on wet technique with watercolor, then it's great, you know, because it doesn't dry too fast.
About everything.
Certainly not.
Yeah.
I do not.
painting master.
I disagree.
親バカ。
そうですね。高さん親バカですよ。
Your mom is Japanese. 親バカ。
It's the proud mom.
English で pride mom.
Proud, very proud.
But
Uh-huh.
funny type. Funny.
It's a
Very
funny expression. It is. It's colloquial, fun expression. Okay, I'm whipping out different types of green colored pencil. Seriously, at this point, just use whatever you like to go with your painting. I don't think it really matters. I'm having indigo here, different types of greens, and I would also like to use some kind of brown. Let's take these two browns.
Now indigo color is now important here, ne? Here, so.
Yeah, but you know what? I think I'm gonna leave this like
Ah, so?
this.
Okay.
Yeah. See, I left it over here and in here as well. I'm mostly using the colored pencil to add texture for the greenery and also for the tree bark and the stone steps.
Yes. Super.
All right. Okay. So first, the lantern. So right now my lantern looks a bit, it almost looks like there's moss growing on it, which, you know, could actually, that could actually be the case. I mean, some of these stone lanterns are 500 years old or, you know, older. I don't know about this park. This park is actually a very interesting place in Kobe because it's not part of any temple or imperial castle or palace. It's actually, it used to be a private residence of the mayor of Kobe. And even though, I mean, you know, even though
Kobe Bürgermeister had long ago believed here in this space.
even though it is possible for exceedingly rich people to have lush gardens, it is very rare in the city areas, any part of Japan which is the city. If you have a park, it's usually owned by the country or the county, the state. So the fact that this used to be the garden of a private residence is really crazy. So these days it's part of the city of Kobe. So I think it's in the hands of the city.
Like an English garden in Munich, ne? So, of all, Munich is a very big city, ne?
Yeah, but the English garden in Munich was built by one of our former kings in Bavaria. So again, you know, it's like a royal thing, which is also very common in Japan, that if you find a beautiful Japanese garden, it's usually part of some type of formerly royal space. Okay, I'm just going over all the, basically just augmenting the shadows that I already painted in watercolor using my indigo
Indigo color.
indigo, dark indigo actually. This is called dark indigo colored pencil.
It's a very important color too, to finally.
Yeah, I love indigo. This is pretty much my go-to color for everything dark. And you can see here what a wonderful texture the hot press paper creates. I really, really like this subtle texture as opposed to cold pressed paper. My lantern is so wonky. It's got a leaning to the right at the top and to the left at the bottom. This must be a very, very ancient old lantern. Okay, but really stands out. I think defining the lines, the shadows like this will make the lantern stand out more from the background. And now I'm just gonna go in with my color pencil and pretty much do the same thing for other parts of my painting where I already added some shadow. I'm just gonna go over them one more time. And also dropping in some more texture for the tree bark. And then the branches over here. So because this color hardly shows up, I'm going to choose a different type of brown and just draw in a little bit of texture here.
It's so great combination. The last time is with the dry pencil. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I love it too.
It's the
But it really, you know, it really depends on your taste. If you like a more subtle texture, just stick to the watercolors. And if you love a more rugged type of look, then just hop in with a mixed media.
Hi.
I mean, you know, you could also use some neocolors here, some pastels.
Yes.
Especially for the bush area. I didn't bring any this time, and believe it or not, I have not made it to an art supply store yet. I know, it's crazy. Just we're meeting family and friends every day somewhere else. It's just, you know, that I have I guess I'm not the what you would call typical visitor in the sense that I do a lot of meeting and greeting family and friends here. I do love sightseeing, and I you know, I try to do as much as possible while I'm in Japan. I love visiting museums and temples and gardens and stationery stores. But I also, of course, want to save a lot of time to see people that I usually don't see more than every 2 years or so. And, you know, hang out with my mom because we live so far apart. She lives in Germany and I live in Hawaii. I don't get to see her much. So for me, it's most important. Just hang around family and friends.
So the Fahrenheit get this is tall. With the dry pencil, ne?
Do you want to try? Yeah, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Bit try.
Yes, please.
A little
you
bit.
Can just you know, some leaves. Hapa. Yeah?
Hapa.
Aswate.
Hey.
Oh, you can just do your own thing. You don't have to use the other painting.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Also, perfect ist das wirklich
Of
nicht.
course it's perfect.
はい、ありがとう。
What? No, you gotta do the rest now. Come on.
ちょっとこれ、
これね。
ダーカー、グリーン、ダーカーグリーン。あ、そう、これインディゴ。
はいはい。 So this is, you know, this is the cue for you guys to invite your partner or kid or whoever is there with you to join drawing in some patterns and leaves.
I have space. I enjoy. I
I have
enjoy.
space too.
Thank you. Mahalo, mahalo. Aloha, mahalo, mahalo. Thank you. ありがとう。
はいはい。
Thank you
楽しい
very
ね。
much. うん、楽しい。Very enjoyable.
Okay, so Glenda
ちょっと、
wanted
はい
to
もう
know.
やめる。
やめる？
うん
はい、
ありがとう。Thank you. I can try.
Yes,
Thank you
can
very
try.
much.
Okay.
Happy time. It was happy time for me.
So,
Thank you.
Glenda, I'm using a Caran d'Ache Luminance. This is the dark indigo 639. I think this is the third pencil I have at this point after finding it maybe last year or so. So this is one of the colors I use the most. I absolutely love it. I
Where
also
did you buy?
this one actually I think I bought this one when I was in Germany
Ah,
last time, but you can you know you can buy this in America
Oh, yeah.
too. This is a very widespread brand, even though it's from Switzerland. I have another indigo that I use a lot, which is by Derwent. It's called Deep Indigo 1100. It's an ink tense. And the advantage of this one is that it's water soluble and you can just go in while the paper is still wet. But as soon as the paper is dry, I really love using the Caran d'Ache Luminance. And I also love the Derwent Color Soft. So this is a type of Derwent that I just recently found. I was kind of apprehensive because I had color pencils by this company that snapped a lot. Not the Inktense, but these ones here, the Chroma Flow. I really dislike these ones even though they have great colors. So I was kind of apprehensive to buy more. But I heard people mention so many good things about the Color Soft ones. You know, the fact that they're very similar to the Prismacolor, which I also love. However, these come in very interesting colors. So Derwent creates a lot of great dark purples and greens and moss shades, probably because they're situated in England, so they're surrounded by all these interesting types of greens and grays and browns.
This brown, can you use here?
Yeah. Yes, I could.
Tree?
But I think I'm
Yes.
actually done with this part. I think at this point I'm just gonna go in and add some more. Oh, yeah.
It's okay here?
Yes, it's great.
Thank you. あ、楽しかった。ちょっとドキドキしたけど。Ich wollte nicht deine Bild stören.
Ah, danke schön.
Stören, noch schlimmeres Ausdruck.
You know, look at this point.
Kaputt machen.
No, but this is the third time I'm painting this, so don't you worry at all. And even if, you know, this would be a good lesson in letting go. So ever since I started pottery this year, oh my gosh, this has brought me forward so much on my art journey because every second piece I make either just, you know, falls apart or doesn't come out the way that I anticipated. It's such a good lesson in just going with the flow, letting go, and just trying out things because for the most part, they don't turn out the way that I anticipated. Whereas, you know, with painting or drawing at this point, because I've been doing it for so long, watercolor still surprises me. It has its own mind for sure, but I can definitely tell the outcome better at this point. So the pottery, adventure this year has been such a good teacher for
Good
me.
adventure for me too. Very big adventure. This builder too. The process is very, very, very interested. We do how you can beautiful, how, what a wonderful what, what a beautiful painting you can. It's, I can watch is your process. The process from begin till end. It's very, very, very high interesting.
Aw,
Nanja.
I'm glad to hear it. You know, I still love watching process videos myself too, from other artists or by other artists. It's super interesting because everybody, everyone has their own techniques, the way they use even the same paints. Whenever I see people use my paints, I'm often surprised and I often learn a lot too. Just by watching videos of other people using watercolors, mixed media.
Yeah.
And also I find it very relaxing just to watch these process videos. Okay, Carrie says, love the Derwent Color Soft, right? They're great. My mom loves the Prismacolor Very Thin. You know what? I have not tried these yet. They are harder, are they? Than the regular Prismacolors? I mean, they have a harder lead as far as I know. So they're more like the Luminance or the Faber-Castell. What are they called again? The famous ones, polychromos. All right. Oh, I love how this one turned out different yet again. This is just so lovely about watercolors. Every time you use watercolors, it's a slightly different outcome. All right.
This is now, ne?
Yeah, this is from today. I really like how here in the water, the reflection blends into the water texture.
Yeah.
I do love in this one that it has high contrast.
Yes.
You know, the pink and the indigo, so it's very bold. This one is very bold.
Yes.
This is more subtle.
This
And here
is
in my
soft
first
touch.
try, it's very detailed. I think this is the one where I fiddled the most.
Detailed. Yeah, genau.
Yeah, so it really is interesting how
Yes.
they turn out so
I like
differently.
Today's picture very much too.
Well, I love it because you participated as well.
Every time it's a little bit another one.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Ooh, love this masking tape. This is great.
Honto, this tape is very
This is from
useful.
Muji. You know the store? We bought the socks as well and the t-shirt.
Ah,
The
also Muin shop.
It's so funny. So Japanese people pronounce it differently. You know, we call it Muji. I'm sure you've heard of that
No
store.
name. No name.
So it's a store in Japan, which I think also at this point exists outside of Japan. It has kind of very
Muin. No name.
simple designs without a logo on it. Lots of craft paper, lots of, sweaters, clothing without any type of logo or lettering on it. And you call it Muin.
Muin has
Muin.
no name.
No name.
but the material is very, very natural and good.
Natural fibers, high
Yes,
quality.
yes.
Yeah. And so this is where I got this very simple washi
Yeah.
tape.
Very many Japanese
Super nice quality.
housewives,
Mm.
wife,
Mm.
love this shop.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well, I love
This
it too.
store.
I love it too.
This
They do have
store.
some stationery. It's very simple, but the washi tape
Yeah,
is
it's very good
fabulous.
material.
Mm-hmm.
Material. Very natural and good. これいいね、今日のこれ。
ありがと
すごくいい。
う。
ユ
Alright.
ーグラドレーション、ケイコちゃん。はい。
Okay, all right, you guys. This was it for today's special live stream from Japan with my mom.
Thank you very much, everybody.
I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I think, for the remainder of my stay here, we have scheduled some more visits with friends and relatives already. So I think this would be the one and only live stream from Japan. As you all know, I'm also currently taking a break from Instagram, but I'll be back around November 23rd or 24th, and I'm going to announce the next round of Aloha 24 challenge. So Aloha 24 December. I'm actually already prepping tutorials and everything, so I am doing some work while I'm here in Japan. But I'm looking forward to going, to host another challenge for you guys in December. And until then, I hope you have a good time. I hope you enjoyed today's session. As always, please leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed the session, or even a comment down below. That would be wonderful. Until next time.
Bye. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Bye bye. I'm a happiest mom.
Aww.
Thank you. Bye bye. Stay well.